I have to admit the Atlantic Concept really is going to look absolutely insane. I also have no idea why the AI are just sitting there. Why is that car hopping like that? Yo, good. There you go, buddy. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So we all do know the new Bugatti Atlantic Concept has been added into this game. I also have to admit I am kind of surprised of seeing this thing, which by the way I have to admit I had no idea this car even existed. I have also never seen this thing ever before. I might have seen like the front of it, but it really has been a minute since I've actually seen it. Now, I'm sure a lot of players are going to know that the new Bugatti Atlantic Concept is going to be based off the SC Atlantic here, which of course, has the exact same name as it. It's also going to have like a very long nose similar to this car, which by the way, I would say this is probably one of the craziest looking things I've ever seen. Like imagine seeing a Bugatti roll up on you in 1950. That would probably be an insane experience, but fast forwarding to the new Atlantic Concept here, it really is insane how much cars have evolved. I also have been looking more into like older vehicles compared to now. It really is insane, guys, like how much vehicles are changing, how much they actually like, improve in basically every way. Like, wait, why is there a, is that like a, what is my camera doing? I don't know why, but there was like a map thing there with like a destination set. Does it move? It does not. Weird. Anyway, though, I would say this is probably going to be a pretty interesting looking Bugatti color. You will also notice how it has like a 21 Celsius thing there. Have to admit, I do not know what that actually is. Let me know in the comments below. But I would say like the interior color in this vehicle is gorgeous. I love like the blue like stitching going around the car. You can see like the carbon fiber all over it. It's also going to be like a peanut butter type of interior there, so it does look insanely nice. And I do like the overall detail of like the entire like button layout and stuff like that. And you can also see like the AC controls in the Bugatti. And then of course the RPM gauge is going to move. I do not see anything with like the gear indicator there. You can see navigation, which of course it is set on navigation. Also showing the mini map on the right side, that's pretty dope. It would be really cool though. Let me know, by the way, would you guys like to see the actual mini-map on the dash of your vehicle? I do feel like that would actually be a pretty dope concept, but without further ado, let's go drive the new Atlantic Concept right now to see how this car does handle, and of course really test out like the overall speed on it. Now I do have to say though, seeing another Bugatti in this game is probably going to raise a lot of mixed opinions. It really is crazy to me that yes, it is going to be number 16. Of course, being in the Crew franchise is going to be a pretty dope flex, though. Like, how many racing games have 16 Bugattis in them? I would say that number is probably going to be insanely low. But I would say, though, the Bugatti Atlantic Concept is going to be a very interesting looking vehicle. I would say it kind of reminds me of, like, even obviously, looking like the SC Atlantic. It does remind me of something like a Dodge Viper, of course, having a gigantic engine in the front of it. And of course, on top of that, though, the Atlantic Concept does have that signature Bugatti sound to it, which, by the way, is going to sound awesome. One thing I did notice is like I guess you could say that's like luggage in the back of the car there, which is pretty dope having that feature in there. And I really do like the small amount of details on these cars like that. The big question is, though, how fast does this thing actually go? Well, if it does go similar to the other Bugattis in this game, it's probably going to be around 300 miles an hour. I was testing out something like the Emerald Storm before, and that car was hitting around 306 miles an hour, so if I had to guess, the Atlantic Concept here is probably going to be very close to that, and most likely just slightly slower to, maybe mix things up a bit with it. I also really have to fix the settings on this car. I kind of throw on like base settings on it, and then of course test things out to see what it can do, but now, of course, before I jump into an event, I do want to see what the top speed of the Atlantic Concept is. And as I did mention before, it is most likely going to be around 300 miles an hour. But I do want to see what this car can get to running a full Nitro Chemist set on it. So let's go check that out right now, running to the other highway here in the city. Of course, the other one I did end up going backwards on that one, so I basically can't really do a true top speed test there. But of course, going past the main highway part, let's see here and not hit anything. So 290 miles an hour. Looks like it's going to be around the top speed of this thing. I was also going down a hill and it was not increasing it, so this thing is going to be slightly slower than many of the other Bugattis, which of course is not that big of an issue. Now, of course, jumping into an event here on level 5 difficulty, I did want to see what the Bugatti can actually do in one of these events. Of course, going against the insanely annoying AI in this. Now, one thing I have to admit, by the way, I was noticing the sound of the engine in this car to be a tad different. That's also going to come down to a fact that this is a 4.0 liter V8. I did not even realize that when looking at it because, I'm so in tune with the Bugattis being like quad turbocharged, but it does turn out this thing is going to be half of what a regular Bugatti is. And it's also going to be a twin turboed as well, so it is going to be a slightly different vehicle. I also do like the difference in sound in this car compared to the others, which by the way you really can hear that in this vehicle when driving it. And I did notice being in first person mode at certain times you can hear the car a bit differently as well, which I really do like small details like that in this game, but like the cars being a bit different when you drive them. And of course actually being in like different views of the camera showing off like different engine sounds. I would say small details like that is going to be great, but the overall speed of this car so far, I have to admit, isn't going to be bad in any way, and it's most likely going to be pretty dang typical. What was that, dude? It's also going to be very typical of most of the hypercars in this game having great acceleration, and I would say doing around 290 miles an hour isn't going to be that big of an issue. Now, if you are going against something like an Emerald Storm or like maybe a Magma, sure, something like one of those cars might be a tad slower than this one, or like even a tad faster, because I have noticed most Bugattis are a lot quicker than everything else. But of course, in Motorfest now, not being in the Crew 2 before, I would say Bugattis are not nearly going to be as, I guess you could say, good as it was before, even though currently the number one Bugatti I see being used is a Dendo Dici, which I do know I'm not saying that correctly, but hey, I am going to give that a try and really, see if I can say it, which I can't. Of course, we also have the SC Atlantic now to really see if this car can compete with them, which, by the way, I do have to mess with my settings even a bit more with this thing. And the reason for that is going to come down to like the way this car does drive and even the way it kind of slides around corners. I would say it's probably going to need a bit more of testing with that, which I will be doing after this event. One thing I do find a bit insane about this car, like let's say if you drive something like a Bugatti Divo then jump back into the Atlantic Concept, you really can't see a difference in like the engine being in the front of this car compared to that one being in the rear, which I would say, a lot of things are going to go behind that with how a car is designed, but it really is insane how these vehicles are, and the amount of engineering going behind one of these Bugattis is probably out of this world. I also want to point out, by the way, I have been running this vehicle with the regular setup when I did buy it. If you are wondering, by the way, you can change the entire color combo on this vehicle, which, by the way, I have to admit, some of these look absolutely amazing. I would say this one is, going to be like the regular Devo. We also have the yellow there, then a full, like, silver color. And, of course, we have white, a full blue, and then we also have red and the actual, like, black color on the back there. And then, of course, we have a full black vehicle after that. But I have to admit, guys, I really do like the way the red does look here. So let's add this to it. Not only that, though, you can also change the rims to black, which, by the way, make this thing look insane. I also have to add that to this vehicle, which, by the way, I did not have to buy them because I did somehow get them out of that event, even though most players are probably going to add stuff to the vehicle anyway, but we really can't agree, guys. It is going to be one of the craziest cars ever. Now, I do want to go drive this thing a bit more and give my final thoughts on it. Now, the sun is currently going down in the game right now, but I really do love the way the red and the black rims look on this thing. I really do like the fact that you could actually change the colors on it. We do know most of the Bugatti Divos and stuff like that, you normally can't customize them, which I would say having more customization in these vehicles is the best way. Oh my goodness, I don't know what that truck was doing. And I have another treasure box popping up. Anyway, though, I would say in first-person mode, this car does look great. Now, I do have to say, though, a lot of the Bugattis do look insanely similar with the way they are designed in the interiors, which I would say is not going to be a bad thing. It's probably like a signature thing to it. Like almost how you can tell like an Audi apart from like a Mercedes or something like that, or like even a Subaru to like a Toyota, even though, those car companies have collaborated. But being in first-person mode with this car, it does look awesome. I would definitely recommend checking out this, though, guys. And I do want to say, by the way, do stay tuned for the Lamborghini Aventador coming out tomorrow. I really do love that car. That thing looks insane. I also cannot wait to see how that car does go against this one. Do let me know in the comments below, by the way, if you do want to see, like, different, like, testing with the Bugattis going against each other, and even just random hypercars going against each other as well. And as always, I would definitely recommend trying out this car if you guys want it. Do keep in mind the bundle currently is around $3 million for both vehicles. I would actually recommend doing that because most likely this car being by itself is probably going to be well over $2 million.